Well, everybody, it's Conversations With, and it's two Richards again. And how can you beat that?
We have an abundance of riches.
Yes, we do. And it's always great to have my good friend Richard Morchoe with me. And we like to just chat and talk about some of the exciting things that are going on. And are there ever some exciting things going on?
It's interesting times, as the Chinese.
Well, we have one judge who said through the Obamacare route said it's unconstitutional. We have another judge who told General Flynn that he was sold out his country.
But what did he sell out his country for? Was it Russia or was it Turkey? Because he had been working for Turkey.
For Turkey, yeah.
But I thought it was Russia was the collusion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's happening? Come on, Dan.
I'm trying to, the good news is that Flynn, when he gave him an opportunity to delay the sentence so that he could give more information to Mueller, I thought that was interesting. Because I think they thought they were going to walk in. It was a done deal. He was going to say, okay, no penalty. You got to do 3 weeks of community service. See you later. And he unloaded on them.
He did.
And then he made him finally admit that he knew, because he had made the comment that lying to the FBI wasn't a crime. And he says, do you really believe that when you lie to the FBI in an investigation, it's not a crime? Oh, he says, I knew it was a crime. So he finally admitted things, and that's when I think the judge said, now look, you don't want me to rule today, because he was going to put him in jail.
Yeah.
He was going to put him in jail, and so they took a deal, but it's
But it's a time deal. It's not, he will be sentenced later on.
Yeah.
And we're expecting it's not going to be jail.
Oh no.
Because giving this guy jail,
Yeah.
a guy who's been deployed many times, is not going to be great optics.
No, it's not going to be a smart move. But the thing is that I was thinking this morning, and I don't know whether it's this much fun or this much tragedy. I don't know which side I'm on, and I'm being honest, because I haven't had this much fun or had this much tragedy since Watergate in 1973, when we saw a president absolutely just destroy his presidency.
Yeah.
And destroy it, and ended up resigning in disgrace and rode off into the sunset. And I sit back and I say, it's closing in, and now to his great credit, he dominates the news. He dominates, and I mean now here's the thing that I almost fell over today. Today, after Mexico is going to pay for the wall. Today, his administration gave Mexico $5 billion to stop them from coming into the country. And he gave another $5 billion to Central America to keep the people there. So we're paying Mexico now $5 billion to keep them out, and he was going to make them pay for the wall. And you say to yourself, what?
Well, this is the big conundrum about Trump. I don't know what's going on in his mind. Is every minute a new minute? And that everything that he said last week is ancient history and can be forgotten.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Yeah.
Now, I will say, if $5 billion, if $10 billion
Yeah.
keeps people from coming into a country where we don't have the jobs
Yeah.
for them,
Yeah.
the only place they have for them now is on relief.
Yeah.
Well, that and what's the time frame here?
Very well spent. But
Yeah.
there's somebody who said, absolutely, Mexico's going to pay for that wall. And then he says, and when he had the TV show, which was great theater, with Nancy and Chuck Schumer yelling at each other and saying, we're not giving you $5 million for your wall, and the most we're going to give you is $1.5 million.
And not for a wall.
Not for the wall. It's to get more help.
Yeah.
It's to get more people. It's to get better equipment down there so that we can stop this stuff. And And then he says, nope, then I'll shut the government down. Then, like to your point, then 2 days later, he's saying, oh, I can make a deal for that. We don't need the $5 million, and I'm not going to shut the government down. And you say, what's next? And then they get Giuliani on, and Giuliani says to Stephanopoulos, he didn't sign anything. And Chris Cuomo says, here's the letter, and here's the signature. Here's the letter that he was going to put at Trump Tower in Russia, and by the way, here's the signature. He signed the letter. And I'm saying, and then now Giuliani says, well, it's not that big a deal anyway.
It's what a country.
Yeah.
What a country.
But it's one lie on top of another lie. I remember a great conversation I had with a police chief who used to be the chief of police in Ware, Massachusetts, many years ago, a fellow named Steve Pilch. And he was the chief of police in the town, and I had the radio station, and we were talking about, he and I were chatting about police work and individuals and so forth. And he said, an interesting thing. He said, first of all, people should remember that they shouldn't lie. Because if you lie, now you got to try and remember what you said.
Yes.
And you got to try and remember what did you
Yeah.
say. So if you're going to lie to me, write it down so you won't forget it. Because I asked you that same question a week later,
Yeah.
and you give me a different answer, and I got you. And he said, but here's the biggest problem, Dick, with people who lie. And he said, we see it all the time in police work. And the biggest problem with people who lie is once they've told the first lie, they have to continue to lie to protect the first statement.
It's true.
And they lie each time they discuss
Yeah.
it because they have to keep lying
And you have
to
to
protect themselves.
Remember one heck of a lot of lies.
Yeah.
And who can remember that much of a chain?
You can't. And I remember that conversation, and I said, wow, I never thought of it that way. And he says, and that's one of the big difficulties with a lot of police work. He says, they entrap themselves, and then they blame us for entrapping them. He says, because they keep lying, and eventually the lies mount up so much that we know that they're lying to us because they're so further from the truth that it's inconceivable.
And that is obvious, so obviously, yeah, you are going to trip up. But how, the only thing we have about Flynn, and this is the problem I have with this, is they're not getting him on anything he colluded with Russia on, just the lie. Now, and lying to the FBI. But, how does
Trump fired him because he lied to Pence.
that? Well, that's a.
That doesn't make
There's
really.
no law that says, what is the U.S. statute lying to a Pence? There is none.
There's nothing. No.
Now, it does say, okay, 2 lies. That does not say he displays absolute fidelity to the truth.
No.
But they're not getting him on so far. I mean, he may come up with something later on. The big kahuna here, which is, did Trump collude with Russia? And I have because I was going to write about it, I have an article on NPR, which has every day is Trump this, Trump that. Can't say anything nice about it, and says, a couple of years now, we still have no collusion. When NPR says that, we have nothing to date for the collusion. So come on, get that this guy colluded and throw him in the slammer, otherwise let him up. Impeach him, try him, get him out of the White House, or let him up. That's what I want.
Well, but don't you think he's his own worst enemy?
Yes. Look, he has not, talking about the wall and everything, he has not really delivered on the core stuff. He really hasn't. His things with China, the trade war, we have no idea that's going to work.
And he's burying the market because
Is he
of it.
No, I'm going to say this, and it is non-defense of the man. He shouldn't have taken credit for it before. The market is something completely separate from what you know.
No, I understand.
And he shouldn't be by that. He shouldn't necessarily be blamed now.
Well, the market's reacting to the China thing. I saw a guy today who was being interviewed on CNBC, and he made an interesting statement. He said, look, if there is anybody alive who's in the business world today who doesn't know that the Chinese government lies, steals, cheats, will do anything. Okay?
Yes.
Period. And if you don't understand that, anybody who thinks you can sit down and make a deal with China is deceiving themselves. You know, and so, you know, but the point I'm making is that in this, it's like it just doesn't stop. He doesn't take a breath. You know, I don't know whether it's an obsession because he has a huge ego, no question. But is it that big that he has to be number one every day, all day, and he'll say anything to get there?
Okay. When I was in college, a friend of mine and I, we discussed the Eraticist Party. We would start the Eraticist Party. And the whole idea behind the Eraticist Party, whatever policy we came up with, we would immediately let go of. So no policy would last more than a minute.
Yeah.
So that was a strength and a weakness. It's both a strength and a weakness in that if you come up with a good idea and you give it up, that's a weakness. But if you come up with bad ideas and you give them up, that's a strength.
Yeah.
And that appears to be, the guy has come to life as what I invented with my friend, the Eraticist Party. Because he says one thing one day, and if it doesn't work, well, he'll say another thing the other day.
Yeah.
You notice this. I notice
yeah.
this. Well, I notice it because you notice it. But, we notice it. But does the world notice it?
Well,
Because the news cycle
there was
isn't...
an article today that said, how much longer will his core believers not realizing that he just doesn't keep his word? There's not going to be a wall. He's now going to put iron slats up, so there's not even going to be a wall, even if he got money, which he won't get, and that Mexico's not going to pay for it. And not only is Mexico not going to pay for it, we're now going to give Mexico $5 billion so that they'll cut people off before they go into Mexico to come to the United States. They're going to stop them on their border. And by the way, if that works, it'd be a great idea,
Yeah.
if it works. But the point is that I'm saying, and I don't know what the answer is to that. Now, the other thing is, the last thing that hasn't been settled is North Carolina. The Democrats going to ultimately win because they got the Republican for fraud. It's a nightmare. And all those people they're going to have another election, and those people are going to be allowed to vote, and the Democrat will win. That means they picked up 41 seats. Mm-hmm. Boy, there was a blue wave. I mean, that's huge. 41 seats.
Yeah, that is big.
And that's a big move. And so that it's going to be intriguing. Now, the Democrats have two choices. They can be, I believe, stupid and foolish and make fools of themselves by blocking everything.
Yes.
Or they can be smart, rise above it, and worry about America and make sure that they compromise their deals and get legislation and things passed that will truly help Americans. And recognize that in some cases, that tax bill did help a lot of people. And the man on today was very intriguing. He said, you have to understand that 51% of the businesses in this country are small businesses owned by little people.
Yep.
And they employ 55% of the workplace.
Yep.
So that those people had great benefits from the tax bill because they saved a lot of money.
Yep.
And where their businesses were basically struggling because of the tax break, they're now showing profits, which is going to get turned back into their people, which ultimately will help them. And he says, people have to understand. Now, he said, the president, for some reason, can't talk about that, and that's what he should be talking about, the little people that he really helped.
Exactly.
But he's not talking about that.
Now, two things here. First of all, the Democrats.
But the Democrats have a big decision to make. They could be stupid and bury themselves in the next election.
Okay. Do you ever hear the famous saying about the French kings? They when they came back in power and they screwed up everything. They said the famous guy said they learn nothing, they forget nothing, and they learn nothing. The Democrats lost the House big time. Did they learn anything here? That's the whole. Did they learn? Because they went downhill pretty fast. And it's only this what happened with this last election that saved them. They didn't save themselves.
No, they didn't.
No.
They're not distinguished.
Yeah. Now, you're saying about Trump. What about his core supporters? We all know who Trump's core. In Central Mass here, we come close to having his supporters. We're not in Boston, not in Amherst, but we know them. They're our neighbors. It's not
They
like
got a rifle. They got a rifle in the back window of the truck.
in the Rust Belt. Yeah, they're all there, and they're the core supporters. Why would they stay with them? But the bigger question is, if they don't stay with him, where do they go?
Yeah,
Now, you know, in France, they've been having those riots, the yellow vests. Why do they have that uniform? Because the French government makes a rule for everything, and you have to have in your car a yellow vest. So people are mad at their government because they have a president who doesn't represent them at all.
No.
And they go out and riot because they're good at it. The French know revolution.
Oh, they know how to do that.
Yeah. And now, is Trump really representing the people? Where do they go if they don't have him? Where do they go if they don't? Do they go and put on yellow jackets?
Well, first of all, there's nobody out there that's like them.
Yeah.
So they don't have anywhere to go. They don't. They're going to have to either, live with them or die with them, or they're going to have to go crawl back in where they have been for many years till they can find someone to support.
If they never find somebody, the big strength of this revolution in France is it has no leaders. It's all organic in the people.
Yeah.
No leaders, because if you have a leader, they would have called the leader in and say, "Hey, we're going to give you a job in the ministry now."
Yeah.
Nope. And the people are that mad.
And they got the taxes. Gas tax was pushed back.
But they're not. But that was only a small part.
Oh, I know.
This guy Macron is a representative of the banks. Yeah. Obama was a representative of the banks. Bush was a representative of the bank. Clinton was a representative of the banks. Does Trump really represent the people? Does he have staying power as the deplorables candidate? The deplorables man.
Yeah.
You tell me.
Well, he just got hammered, and I say he because we're talking about him. His party just got clobbered in the midterms.
Yeah.
That's an indication that the other side, who sat back, figuring Hillary was going to win anyway, and didn't get out, suddenly realized, whoa, we better do something.
Yes.
Now, I look over the horizon, and I start to look, and every once in a while someone will have the numbers for me, which I don't really, it's too early for numbers, but I like to glance at them. And we have Beto O'Rourke, who is now the top candidate, and he couldn't beat Ted Cruz. No. So now I'm saying, how, here's a guy who has absolutely zero experience. He couldn't beat Ted Cruz. If he had beaten Ted Cruz, I'd say, whoa, we got a guy that could do this. But if he couldn't beat Ted Cruz in Texas, even though it was a close race, he didn't beat him. And 29 still beats 28 every day. So is that your guy? No, it isn't going to be your guy. And so he's going to fade, quicker than a peach on November 12th. And so the bottom line is now who you got. Well, you start to look down the list, and you see Pocahontas is at 7%. She's way down in the middle of the pack. And if anybody is running for president, it's her, and that's the best she can do. That tells you she's not going to be there. Sanders is at 11, and he can't win. So I'm saying, whoa. Then there's Joe Biden. Biden's at 12. He's right behind Beto. Will he live long enough? You know, and I'm not trying to be mean.
No,
Joe's
but yeah.
74 years old
Yeah.
or 75. And by the way, a ton of experience. Was a House member, a member of the Senate, a vice president, certainly
And
from
the
a political.
and the banker's candidate.
Oh,
They all are.
Yeah, they
There's
are.
a few aren't, but,
but
they're all.
they're all in the.
But his son is in the Ukraine natural their gas company.
Yeah.
He's on the board. How do you get that? Because they had a nationwide search in Ukraine. I mean,
It's Joe Biden's kid.
yeah, the bank.
But anyway, the point is that you look down the list, and then there's the pretend. There's Harold Stassen Clinton.
Yeah.
You
Oh
know,
God.
Hillary, who's now saying she would consider a third term, a third run. We don't need you, Hill. You know, she's not going to get off the ground. The article I read said they can't even sell tickets to the Bill and Hillary show.
That's so embarrassing.
Yeah. There was one place where they were peddling for $5 a piece the night of the event, just to get people to go in there.
Just to be a jerk and have fun. Trump should say, I feel so bad for Hillary. My next rally, I'm going to invite her.
Yeah.
He should just do that and have a ball, but he won't. You know, if you're listening, Donald, that's an idea that's yours for free for me.
Well, you know something funny though, but I think he delights too much in beating her up and kicking her and calling her name.
Well, she wouldn't
Crooked
come.
Hillary. No, I know.
But you know, he invites her.
Yeah.
And then she doesn't come. He says, "I was trying to help." You know, I mean.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, so you look ahead, and it's 2 years away.
It is.
It's 2 years. You know how long it takes to plan a presidential campaign? I mean, I was there. You can't do
Yes.
that in 2 years.
Yes, but you were there when the 24-hour news cycle was starting. And the campaign is a 4-year campaign now.
Yeah.
It's even worse now than it was in your day.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
this was 84. He ran in 88.
Yeah.
And so we were able to put a deal together in about 7 months and then get this thing up and running and came out of nowhere to win the nomination. And you know, but by the same token, he was a sitting governor.
Yes.
You know, and there was a place to come from, you know.
Yeah.
And I say that they keep pushing this Beto O'Rourke, and he couldn't beat Cruz.
Well, remember one thing. Lincoln lost to Douglas and then won the presidency.
Oh yeah.
So you never
Well,
can
the
tell.
other thing too is, the other question is, will there be a Republican or Republicans who will oppose Trump? That's another thing. There's been talk about Mario Rubio coming back up, you know.
Mario ain't doing it.
I understand.
You know that.
I understand.
Kasich, maybe because Kasich doesn't have the brains of a bowling ball when it comes down to it.
And then the other question is, would Bush come? Would Jeb Bush go again? You know.
Now there, if you, if you didn't like, if you think Hillary is a souffle that can't rise twice,
Yeah.
Jeb ain't going nowhere. Jeb might make some noises, but
Yeah.
I think they had a little bit of a love fest at the funeral, so I think that they've kissed and made up a little anyway.
A little bit, yeah. But it's going to be an intriguing 2 years.
Yes. Well,
But getting back to the Democrat, the Democrats are now in a great position
they are.
to provide leadership for America in the House. And they could distinguish themselves by working with this man, getting good legislation, because here's what you do know. You know he'll drop his drawers, and I don't mean that cruelly. He'll make a deal with you.
Yes.
You know he'll make a deal.
That's all what he's about, the
And
deal.
he's a deal man.
Yeah.
So that somewhere between what he wants and what you want, there's a place where you can hug. And if the Democrats are smart, they will get some of their bright youngest to work with him and say, look, we can do this 2 ways, Mr. President. We can block everything you do and stick it to you, or we can work together and work for the American people, and we can make this happen. because they don't really need the Senate, because the Senate's going to do what Trump tells them.
Exactly. That's
Okay, and McClellan does what Trump tells him, and he's got the other clown there from South Carolina, Graham, who sold out to him. So he's got those two powerful guys in the Senate. So the Senate's all set. The House is where he, but he can sit down with the House, and there's enough smart guys, if they get a couple of bright guys who can say, look, let's stop the nonsense. Let's be smart. Let's work with this man for the next 2 years, because it's only going to make us look good.
got any names? In the
Yeah,
House?
the kid from Salem is one of our reps.
He's
Moulton.
been a little obstreperous.
Well, he went after Pelosi, and I'm not against that.
No.
But he's got a coalition. He's got about 20, tough Marine, former Marine, smart guy, and he can stand up to Trump and say, look, and I'm just using him as an example, but there's some of the old timers that have been around that are in the like a guy like Dick Neal, who's our representative
Neal,
here,
yeah.
who's now head of Ways and Means. Smart guy, been around, he's served in there for 30 years, that know how to make a deal. And you get 2 or 3 of those guys that are willing to sit down with the president and work. It's just like Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill. They got so much accomplished because they were able to go. Tip would take a ride quietly. Nobody even knew he was there. He'd go over to the White House and have dinner with the president at 6 o'clock, and they'd work out 6 things.
But Tip was Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
They gotta either say to Nancy, "Come on, Nancy, don't have another shouting match," or they gotta remove her. I don't see her being removed.
Well, they got a deal. She's only going to stay 1 term.
And how long is 1 term?
Well, it depends. It's 2 years.
Yeah, and then it's an
if
election.
if they control the House, it's 2 more years.
But then again,
She's agreed to 4 years.
she's agreed. 1 term, she's gone.
Yeah.
But 1 term is when everything has to be done.
But
that
the-
first
but the-
term has
no,
to be when she's doing it.
But she's got to be smart enough, and they've got to be smart to say, Nancy, you be the Speaker of the House. We're going to have a group of 3 or 4 of us who are going to work with the president. We'll bring it back to you, and you buy it and get it done.
Can she do that? Can she do that?
That's the tough part. Will her ego allow her to let if she's smart, she would. What difference does it make who makes the deals? She's going to get the credit.
I hope she gets that. I mean, for the country, I hope she gets that. I really do.
Now, whether that'll happen, I don't know if the Democratic Party's smart enough at this point.
Well, they came back from the dead this time.
Yeah.
Did they?
To your point, did they learn?
Did they learn?
And have they forgotten?
Did they learn? Yeah.
Because you see, I had a great friend of mine who was a psychiatrist, and he said, here's the problem, Dick. He says, people can forgive, but can they forget? And if they forgive but don't forget, that's not really forgiven. If they forgive and forget, then you move on.
Well, there's also another thing. If you don't forgive or forget, they always say, you know what they say about revenge is a culinary event. It is a dish best tasted cold.
Yeah.
So you have to have some patience, even if you don't want to remember. If you have to at least look like you forgot, at least look like you forget.
I think the great thing I heard happened to be watching the funeral of the late president, and it's former Senator Alan Simpson. Was magnificent. Was very funny, very humorous, but he had one line, and I hadn't heard it for years and years. And I heard it. I remembered my Nana McGee. I came home one day and said, I hate that. And she sat me down. And Simpson said it at the funeral. And I went, oh, wow. I wrote it back down because I had forgotten it. And my Nana looked at me and she pointed to me and she said, Dickie, hatred corrodes the canister that it comes in. Stop hating. And that's one of the problems our government's got. And if the Democrats aren't careful, they're going to corrode the can that it came in, is to my point.
I wouldn't be surprised either way.
Yep.
I have to say, I've lived long enough. I wouldn't be surprised.
Nothing surprises me anymore.
Yeah.
It really
So
doesn't.
hey, they might rise to the occasion and be noble statesmen.
Yeah.
Then they might just go back into the gutter.
Well, but the choice is theirs.
It is. It's always the choice.
Thank you, folks. It's been another great program, and that's another Conversations With.
Subscribe to the channel.
TV Charlton, Mass.
TV Charlton Mass
On YouTube.
on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe.